Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So today we're going to finish out the Angelica drama moment, and we're just going to jump right into it.
If you're the type of person who can walk around this planet and look at other human beings and think, wow, what a fat piece of shit that's costing me money on my taxes.
No one does that. Like, okay, we say it for a fucking YouTube video. That's it. I'm not walking around
Exactly what you say matters, though.
Walmart being like, oh, there goes one of my dollars.
No, but apparently some people are thinking it.
Another one, another dollar.
Okay, so are we now policing how other people think completely? Like, this is getting into 1984 levels, thought crime. This is extremely controlling, Jasmine. And again, this goes back to the tortured era, which this is very, very like within the toxic ritualistic, E followed by the letter D, hinge, BINGE, everything, however you want to call it, it has to do with control. All of them have to do with control. This is controlling, Jasmine. You now are advocating or is basically stating that you want to control how other people think. Even if they don't say something, that's not enough for you. That's really, really, really controlling. And I think people don't understand that people within the toxic ritualistic, including Hinge, which a lot of people in Hinge, they try to act like they're not like this, but they very much are. They are controlling. Not just about their situation, but also other people. But it tends to be, I want to control what you say. I want to control what you think. I want to control your tone, right? I want to control these things. You don't have to watch a creator you don't like, but it's another story to try to control how somebody else is, you know? That's my point. And it shows how far that goes. And I don't know if Jasmine understands how far she went there. Well, apparently they're thinking it. Are they not allowed to have a thought that you don't like, Jasmine? Because that's wild. And how would you feel if somebody put that standard back onto you? What if I don't want you to have a thought, Jasmine? What if Angelica doesn't want you to have a thought? Doesn't that seem crazy? But when you're tortured or you're still kind of in this, you can't, it's like you don't have that concept. There's less empathy, which again, sorry, Jasmine, but that is not empathetic. You're not being empathetic. You're not seeing that you're being controlling. And you would hate that same standard if it was applied to you. What if I don't like what you think, Jasmine? What if I want to control how you think? Doesn't that freak you out? It freaks me out. It freaks a lot of people out. But that's what you're projecting, and that's odd. And you need to snap out of that because you can't control what other people say. You can have an opinion, you can be calm, you can blah, 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 blah. You can say how you feel. You can advocate for a message to be done differently, but you just had an issue with somebody's private thoughts, which that says a lot about you. It really does. It doesn't say good things either, because I'm certain that you wouldn't want that same standard put upon you. You wouldn't want your thoughts to be controlled by somebody else. If I'm wrong about that, if you're okay with your thoughts being controlled by somebody else, then I guess I'm wrong and you're being consistent. But otherwise, you're a hypocrite. Okay?
Another dollar, another dollar. No, I'm just like, damn. And then I keep pushing my fucking cart down the aisle so I can get the rest of my shit. And let's look at the comments. The nihilistic engineer says, I think, and this isn't an excuse, just an observation, that people tend to be the harshest towards those that remind themselves of their own flaws that they hate the most. I can agree to a certain point, because when I do react to fat acceptance content, I'm like, yeah, I remember being there. But it's the fact that fat acceptance content gets put online for literally anyone to see, so anyone can fall down into that trap. And rewatching all the fat acceptance content that I do just reminds me of how horrible I felt when I was in that community. I feel like I say this in like every single fucking video, but I'm like, when I was in the fat acceptance community, I felt so helpless and hopeless. Not only was my mental health bad because it was the lockdown, but my depression was so debilitating that I did not want to be on this planet anymore. I felt like I could not do literally anything about my life and my circumstances, which did include my weight. When you're in fat acceptance, you are told 95% of diets fail. If you lose weight, you're going to gain it back plus more. Genetics determine your weight even before you're born. 80% of people are fat
Okay.
because their ancestors survived famines. The list of bullshit goes on and on and on. So I would think, I hate how I look right now. I'm so fucking fat. I am exploding out of my pants and underwear. I have beet red stretch marks on my stomach and arms because I've rapidly gained weight and I'm not moving. I eat all day because that's the only thing that brings me temporary happiness and comfort during these horrible times. So I can't even attempt to lose weight because if I lose weight, then I'm just going to gain it back plus
Yeah.
more. So if I
So that's the kind of chain email logic. It's very manipulative within fat acceptance, where they say, like, if you do this, then you're going to actually put more weight on. So that's very superstitious. It's a superstitious belief, which, again, it's toxic ritualistic. It's a very superstitious thing. It's of course not real. None of it is real. None of it is. Like, even the example of being able to control somebody else's thoughts, that is a myth. You will never be able to do that. You will never be able to completely control somebody else's behavior. You'll never be able to completely control how other people see you. So even when somebody with Hinge, when they lie about how much they're taking in, it shows. People can see it. You still are seen as a liar. It doesn't matter what you do. And even if it comes to more personal things, like if somebody just doesn't like you, you can't change that, you know? So it's all stuff that you have to deal with. And I did have to deal with that in the tortured era, where I had a little bit of a scandalous moment, and I had to cope with the fact that I could not control how other people saw me. I couldn't control it. So what do? You control how you react to it. You control what you say. You control what you do about it, what you contribute to a situation. But you cannot control how other people see you. That is a myth. That is a toxic ritualistic myth. And for some people, hinging is somehow an attempt at controlling that. Same thing with trying to control how other people think. You can't. But by the same token, you can't assume what other people think either if they're not communicating it. You don't know. And you shouldn't necessarily assume negative thoughts or negative intention when more than likely there is apathy. More than likely there's a lack of care about somebody else. Most people are self-focused, self-directed, and that's about it. So most people are just going through the grocery store and minding their own business. And people who will have a huge issue with somebody being fat to an extent that it is a bit much, or it's further than average, it's further than the damn that Angelica put, which is just about 1 second of a thought and then it's over. If it goes into like this long tirade in the mind, and it just goes further and further and deeper, and it's a very long standing commentary about how somebody else looks, that person may have a toxic ritualistic issue, which I would say you should look into why you feel that way so deeply about it. But as far as will somebody feel a reaction to how you look, you can't control that. You can't. All you can do is explore your own reactions or explore your own feelings about things like that. And you can change those. So I would advocate, hey, if you're having this irrational fear of fat people or fatness or whatever, if you're afraid of gaining weight, for example, understand that caloric realism is a thing. The weight isn't going to magically come on. And somebody else's weight has nothing to do with yours. So you don't have anything to fear because you saw somebody else. That doesn't make sense. That's not realistic. That's toxic ritualistic. I would tell you to explore that. Can I force you to? No, I can't. Does it bother me if you don't? Personally, no, it doesn't. It's your prerogative. You know, if you want to freak out about it all the time, that's on you. I wouldn't want to. And if those ideas start to shift into shifting behaviors, then you start to have a toxic ritualistic problem. Thoughts alone are not enough for a problem, but when those thoughts become repetitive action, that's when it becomes something. Okay?
I hate myself.
So I wouldn't let those thoughts fester. That's what I would advocate for. However, if you do, it's not going to affect me. It's not going to change what I think about. It's not going to change how I think about myself. And it's not going to change what I say or how I advocate for my message. It won't. Your thoughts aren't going to change any of what I'm doing, which that is not toxic ritualistic. That's not controlling or not basing my sense of security upon what I can control in somebody else. That's a very toxic ritualistic concept that has to be thrown in the trash, because people do certain things based on the belief that if I can control what somebody else is doing, I will feel more secure. You won't. That's never going to work. It will never work. I promise. And that happens all the time. And then when they can't, then they start going into the behaviors. Because it's a myth. You can't.
Myself at 272.8 pounds, then I'll probably hate myself if I get up to 300 pounds because I gained back even more weight after my diet. And then you're told counting calories is toxic. Intentional weight loss is toxic. Weight loss is fat phobic, and weight loss is rooted in racism, ableism, misogyny, the patriarchy, xenophobia, this, that, and the other. So even if I wanted to lose weight, I can't because it makes me a fucking bigot. So then you get trapped in this mindset. And when I react to anti-fat acceptance content, I hope it helps people see the other side out. That weight loss is possible. I've almost lost 90 fucking pounds.
Congrats.
And I used to be...
First of all, that is amazing, and congrats. Super proud of you, Angelica. One thing I do want to say, though, is while I agree that, there is a lot of problems with the fat acceptance movement, and I'm sorry that you were in a place where it was making you feel the way it did, at the same time, I feel like when it comes to coming out of that and trying to get on a weight loss journey and trying to find ways to motivate other people who want to lose weight online, I feel like there are better ways to go about that don't have to include just trash talking and making derogatory comments on other fat people, women and men's bodies. I know it's mostly women because that's mostly who talks about these things online, but...
Be in the fat...
Yeah. And I think that that's a perfectly fine opinion to have. Again, there's certain things that Angelica says that I wouldn't say personally on this channel, but I have a very deep knowledge of that issue. And I try my best not to do anything that could be even close to triggering. I try my best. Of course, I do reckon with these beliefs like I've done in this video. I will talk about things that are uncomfortable within the TR, but I try not to do anything like that because I don't see much of a benefit. And again, I agree more with Jasmine that I don't think shaming is good. So on this channel, I would say shaming about appearance. I don't think it's good, personally. That's not my style. That's not what I'm going to do. Am I upset if Angelica does something different? No, I'm not. I'm not going to control her style. I'm not entitled to her activism. I'm not entitled to anybody's activism. All you can do is if you want to do it a different way, then you can do it a different way. That's what you can do when it comes to activistic messaging. It's a tough field for a lot of reasons. Like, people do have disagreements. People, even within the same side of an issue, can disagree on things. And you have to navigate all of that and work together and all that kind of stuff, which that's just too activisty to really get into. It doesn't apply to everybody. That's, again, just more activism-ish. But if you're not an activist, Jasmine, then it's kind of like to me, as an activist, it's easy to say. It's kind of like when somebody's going to the gym and they're lifting weights and stuff, and somebody who's on the couch, they're just like critiquing the way that their body looks or the way that their form or something, and they're just sitting on the couch all the time. It's just, it doesn't impact as much because you're not doing it. That's how I see it. I wouldn't be shocked if that's how Angelica saw it too, because it's different if you're actually doing it because you understand certain things. So I understand Angelica. I understand why she says certain things, probably better than most people. And I told you guys, and I can tell you again, I'll pull the curtain. It has to do with entertainment value. So if she says something that's funny or off kilter or whatever, a lot of people find it entertaining, so they'll stick around and they'll keep showing up, which that can work from a business perspective within a channel, but it also works within an activistic perspective too, which, remember, the two are not mutually exclusive. Unless if you're a weird one like me, and I'm just kidding. No, I'm so focused on the activistic side, which I probably should focus a little bit more on other aspects a little bit. I might be a little bit imbalanced. But anyways, the point is, sometimes two goals can work together. Not everything is, I have to be super serious and boring to be on point and perfect activistically and not care about engagement, or if I care about engagement, the activistic message is lost. It's not true either way. You can do both. And again, in my opinion, Angelica's very good at doing both. She's great at it. Her message is pretty much on point. She is helping people. Everything she said, her knowledge of fat acceptance, that whole list of talking points, that just came off the top of her head. She knows what she's talking about. She's good. Even this video that she's doing, where she's reacting to Jasmine, she is able to get so much activistically done. And it's good. Which again, Angelica she was like an advocate within fat acceptance for more years before I started being an activist. So I'm actually a little bit newer at it than her. That's why I think she's better at it than me. Honestly, I think she is. But, she's done the work. She's done a great job, and she changed her mind, and she's best. And fat acceptance, they have a world of hurt coming because of her, It is what it is.
Acceptance community. If I can do it, then you can too, motherfucker. Like, I'm not special. Yeah, cool. I talk to my iPhone camera, and I have a little fancy mic.
Activistic point. Great point, Angelica. There's another one. Look at all these messages. Angelica's getting in to this video, and it's entertaining. And she's quick. She can talk fast and stuff. She's doing good. As Gen Z says, she's cooking. She's cooking. Let her cook.
Phone, and I edit on my MacBook. It doesn't make me special. I'm not unique. I wasn't granted superhuman magic powers from the universe or God. I just ate less food and I worked out more. And
I agree with that, and that's why I share my journey online too, is because I want to show people that you can lose weight, and just like you said, all it really boils down to is eating in a calorie deficit and moving your body more to help with that. But I agree with all of that.
You can do that too.
Yes, and I do think I also personally appreciate you showing your journey, Jasmine, because the more people that show it, the more people believe it's possible. And people's journeys look different, and people can see your journey, and people can relate to your journey, or people can hear certain points you say. Like, I do think it's honestly kind of brave for you to show your food that you're eating, because it's a lot of criticism that comes with that. I don't personally do that very often, because there's so much criticism that comes with it, and there is an implicit statement that you advocate to eat a certain way, which I know you don't, Jasmine. I know you're not. But people online, they see it as such. And also that is still a piece of the puzzle that you're helping to solve. Even if you're not an activist, it's still helping the general picture, because people do need to understand caloric realism, and you are showcasing that. So I appreciate you activistically 100%. Again, if I have a critique here or there, I also have praise too, because that's hard to do. It's very hard to do. So you can show that aspect as well. And again, people can eat as clean as they want to, or as they need to, or people have different health conditions, etc., where people have to eat within certain limits or whatever, which is fine. But that's what I always say on this channel. Like, I do think there are a lot of different paths to it. I talk a lot about hypothyroidism because that's what I've struggled with. Primarily, that was my biggest hormonal physical barrier to weight loss. So that's what I talk about, and I talk about what helps that. But Gosh, I don't know why I get burpy sometimes when I'm speaking. I don't know what. But that's why I do that. And because I focus very much so on the psychological aspect or the emotional aspect on this channel, which is more important because, again, I don't think that foods are just evil or whatever. It's not really like that. Even when it comes to something like seed oils, which I am very much against, the dose is the poison. It's, if you have a little tiny bit, it's not going to do very much, unless if you're severely hypothyroid, then you might have to avoid everything, but you wouldn't even just have to avoid seed oils. Like there was a time when I was so hypothyroid that I couldn't even handle chicken because chicken was too high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. It was too high on the ratio. I could only eat beef. So if you're super, super, super severe, then you will have issues not just with seed oils, but with a lot of stuff, So I'm just saying, and you have to not drink and stuff too. So if somebody is a big, anti-seed oil person and they're drinking a ton or they're having tons and tons and tons of PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acids, or the balance, the ratio is off. To me, I'm like, okay, you're not understanding completely what the problem is with that. Because, if you're afraid of eating beef or butter, but you're having tons of fish and peanut butter and all this stuff that's very high in polyunsaturated fatty acids and you're hypothyroid, you're going to have a problem. I'm like, honey, you're not helping yourself. But by the same token, if you're not hypothyroid, you can handle it, So it just depends on what you can handle. That's why I don't talk about it. I'm never going to sit here and be like, fish is bad for you. I don't think it's bad for you. I'm not going to say peanut butter is bad for you. I don't think peanut butter is bad for you. It's a real food. I don't think seed oils are a real food. That's the problem with those. There's not really any nutrition in it. And the only thing it really has is a lot of vitamin E, which your body just has to use that vitamin E to detoxify the seed oil in and of itself. So it doesn't even really help that much. I'd prefer if you had an avocado, you know what I'm saying, for that vitamin E instead, or something else. I have palm oil foods, for example, that has vitamin E. They're, but that's where I come at it. That's within a specific issue. But again, if somebody had a little bit of seed oil in something, I'm not the fucking food police. If Jasmine's having something that has it, which I think she talked about having Totino's pizza rolls or something, or the pizza, I think that might have it in it. I don't know for a fact. I know the pizza rolls do. I don't know if the pizza itself does. I'm not going to sit here and police you about it. If you're still able to continue, it's fine by me. It's not like I have a moral feeling about it or something. I don't. It's just, I'm not going to eat it with you. And I don't have to. Which again, that's also non-toxic ritualistic. You shouldn't feel the need to control how other people eat. That's bizarre too. Again, but do you see the difference? If you advocate for something freely, and if somebody doesn't listen to it and you're still secure and okay, that's not TR. If you advocate for something and somebody else doesn't do it and you get really angry or upset, or it really bothers you, or it makes you feel like you have to change because of that, then that's a problem. That's the difference. So it's I could go out to eat with somebody and they could just pour a bunch of canola oil on something and eat it. And I wouldn't, it'd be okay, whatever. But I feel that's really extra, but okay. But if they tried to pour it on my food, I'd be I'm not going to eat it. You see? So that's the thing. And I've had people really try to push soy on me. And I'm I'm not eating the fucking soy. Shut the fuck up. I've had people push seed oils on me. I'm I'm not having it. It's I'm not going to. And it's I don't have to. And they're no, you don't have to. And I'm yeah, so shut up, because I'm not going to. I know what it does. It's not good, But by the same token, like, I have sugar a lot. And if somebody is like, well, I don't do well with sugar, I don't care if you don't have it. I would never tell you to eat it. You know, I'm like, I would never try to argue that it's superior to other carb sources either. You know, at least not like fruit. It's not superior to fruit at all because of the electrolytes in fruit. But it's like, that's where you get into the weeds with it. So I'm just saying, I'm trying to explain certain things.
And you can do that too. I hope you know that. I believe in you. And you don't need to listen to the stupid shit on the internet. From what I've seen, most anti-fat acceptance people used to be a part of the community or at least overweight themselves. So they are more than likely to be mean towards the people that remind them of that feature in themselves. Yeah, I guess we already kind of talked about that. It's kind of the same phenomenon of daughters and moms fighting more. They will always be harder on the people that remind us of our own weaknesses or fears. I mean, I do think that there are specific people that I'm harder on than just like random people in the fat acceptance community. I'm going to be more harsh towards Tess Holliday or Ann O'Brien or people that have millions and millions of followers that are in the fat acceptance, health at every size communities online. But I don't think it's being mean when you're literally just telling the truth. But the truth is hard to hear. And I understand that some people are more sensitive than others, and some people like to hear the hard truth. Content for all those different types of people is readily available on YouTube. I get so many comments of people saying, I appreciate how...
Yeah, it's very, like, choose your own adventure. And it's very much like, you are not wrong. Like, if you don't like Angelica's style, you're not a bad person because you don't like her style. If you don't like my style, you're not a bad person because you don't like my style. Where it gets bizarre is, again, when an audience feels entitled to change somebody else's style. No. Which, again, you're seeing a common theme here. There's a lot of controlling stuff going on in this sphere. And that's where I think anti-fat acceptance can struggle, because there are a lot of people that are toxically ritualistic that consume this content, which for good reason, honestly, it's not like a bad thing, but there can be that controlling aspect because that element is there. And I will call that out too. Even if it is just an audience person that doesn't have that issue. I feel like it happens often in this sphere because a lot of people within the toxic ritualistic world are delusional and think that if I comment something, then you'll change, which isn't true. But again, you can make a statement, but you have to have a certain level of humility that just because I say something doesn't mean that other people are going to automatically listen to me. And a lot of people that are in an audience, they get that way, which Jasmine herself has dealt with that, where like people will say things about what she eats and she's like, I'm not going to change because of a comment online. And I'm like, yeah. So it's the same thing for Angelica. She's not going to change her style just because somebody said something, because she'll take it in and she'll be like, okay, well, these people say they don't like it. These people say they do. I like it. More people like it. It seems like it's working, blah, blah, blah. You know? Okay, I'm going to be right back. 1 second. Okay, we are back.
straightforward you are, or how you don't put up with people's bullshit.
And I understand that, you know, certain people have different preferences for how they like to be told things, and I get that some people may enjoy the kind of tough love approach, no bullshit, whatever. And again, yeah, you're right, that is totally a personal preference thing.
Or I get a lot of Gen Xers saying like, I'm Gen X and I just love your no bullshit approach to things, and you say what's on your mind. And I appreciate all those comments too, but I understand that I'm not everyone's cup of tea. When I see people making fat acceptance content, I get upset thinking about how horrible I felt, and I never want anyone to feel the way that I did when I was in fat acceptance, which is why I make the content that I do now. And I also make this content to show people that there is a way out. I was making that stupid fucking content too. I was being cringy online. I was spreading...
The good thing too is this is also Angelica engaging in criticism, and this is Angelica honestly talking about your critique and stuff, which is good. Honestly. You know, I don't know if I would take it. You know what I mean? It's more than I would probably do. So, again, Angelica's a great activist, you know, so it depends on how you view it, because she's being very like open and stuff like that, and she's stating her intentions, and she's using it as like kind of like a statement of purpose, which is really good. It's a good way to focus a channel, a good way to let your audience know what you're doing. I do that sometimes too. I think I've done that even in these reactions, because Angelica was doing it, then I do it too, you know, and it helps you as an activist to like remember what you're doing or why you're doing it, and also remind other people why you're doing it.
Misinformation online, but there is a way out. Some of them seem to have started out helpful and then become meaner. It probably gets more engagement, to be cruel. I guess to a point, but when you just keep reacting to the same things over and over and over, you can't stand it. How?
But I think that comment, though, is 100% accurate. Like, 100% negativity, and the more cruel something is online, the more engagement and reach it will get, because it's kind of just that, like, shock value, you know? Whenever someone gets online and says some outlandish shit about someone else, obviously that is going to get people's attention way more than someone just kind of being like, oh, you know, this person...
It's true. It's very true.
Person is doing this thing, which isn't great, but doesn't make them a bad person. Like, you know, yeah, people want to hear the person be like, oh no, this person is a fat piece of shit and whatever. And it's just, I think it's just the shock value, and the algorithm unfortunately just feeds on that.
Fucking long. Are we gonna watch?
And I think people feed on it too, because it is popular, and there are reasons. There's a lot of reasons for that. I think it's just sometimes when people feel like they can't say things, they like seeing somebody else say something. But also too, Angelica has a perspective on fat activism that others don't, because she was in it. So she knows it extremely well, you know? So that's also an aspect of it too. Like, and she can really like fight all that off. And the thing about this particular genre is it's not just about one and done, you said it and it's over. It's saying it again and again and providing a counter reinforcement within this issue. Again, people project a lot of other genre qualities onto anti-fat acceptance, but it's not the same as like, it's not the same as other types of content. It's not just pure entertainment. It's not just, you know, like political, religious. It's not it's different. It's just a different thing entirely, because a lot of it is also providing counter reinforcement to fat acceptance in general. And it's something that people have to hear often, and they have to feel like they're moving along with others and stuff like that. And it helps to support. A lot of people go to our channels for support on a downsizing journey. Like I said, I said it in one of the previous videos, I think my channel specifically, a lot of people that have struggled in the toxic ritualistic that have recovered, they watch because it gives them closure on it too. And also it lets people know and reminds people too, because it's something that you really have to kill it. You know, I talk about, I've used the metaphor of Pennywise when it comes to the toxic ritualistic, because in order to kill Pennywise, they had to basically bully it, and then it shrunk down, and then they like stomped it out. And that's basically what you have to do with the problem. You have to be a little harsh with it. So like earlier in this video, when I was calling out that kind of toxic ritualistic myth that you can control how other people think, it's like, I really have to call it out. I can't be cute about it. You have to shut that down. Shut it down, stomp it out. It's nothing about Jasmine as a person, but it is about the problem. But Jasmine was having the problem in that moment. So I had to call it out and call her out there too, so that she can see it. And then people who watch, they can also see, oh, I'm kind of like that too. Oh, no. And it also reminds me not to ever be that way again, because I used to. You know? Again, people in Hinge, they don't like to recognize the control issues they have, but they do. And it does include controlling others, which I will be the one to call it out. It happens very, very often, you know? And it causes relationship issues too. You have to be cognizant of that because you don't want that to be the case. And again, I call it out because I don't want people to do that because it's based on myth anyways.
Glitter and lasers talk about how she is 500 pounds of unburnable fat. Like, you can only try and be nice and give advice for so long before you go fucking nuts. And besides her being on a weight loss journey for 41 fucking years, she spreads misinformation. Where is that in your video, Jasmine? Most people that make anti-fat acceptance content are also debunking the fucking myths that people in the fat acceptance community spew. I mean, I posted a reaction
I guess, but that wasn't really the point of my video. You know, my video, honestly, my whole point was just that I don't really agree with certain reaction channels, not all reaction channels, but certain ones who take it to the extreme.
Acceptance compilation a couple days ago, and
I don't think it was a well-made point. It was too open, which again, I don't want to repeat it too much, but it's just it's kind of like an online communication mistake. That's all it is.
Is fairly level-headed, and I even stuck up to some of the videos that were in that compilation. Okay, I'm nosy. I need to know who you're talking about. One that comes to mind, the absolute worst, is Alan Roberts. I don't know his name, but I do know it takes a lot of energy to be that hateful. It really doesn't. You can get me riled up real easy.
It does depend on the person. Like for me too, I'm pretty reactive, so it's not hard for me to be emotional in general, especially about like a super passionate topic, which I'm obviously very passionate about this. Even at this time in my life where I'm experiencing anhedonia from entering maintenance, which I will be talking about on the channel, as again, nobody ever talks about something like that, but it's important to talk about it. Because this is such a passionate topic of mine, even in this general feeling, I still feel passionate about this and I can still have a reaction or like have strong emotions or whatever about it, even if I'm overall a little bit blah these days, you know. But yeah, like typically when I'm on when I'm firing on all cylinders, it's really easy for me to be like very emotional and extra. It's just so easy for me. It's easy for me to argue. It's easy for me to, that's all very easy. You know, I always say on my channel, fighting is like breathing to me. It's very easy to me. And argumentation is so easy to me. It's just like, I've just barely like crack my eyes open after waking up, read a hate comment, immediately respond within a minute. And I can write like a whole ass paragraph in like 30 seconds. It's like, it just comes out. It's so easy. So again, people that tend to be activistic, though we tend to have those types of traits because it's easier for us to do that kind of thing, which is fine. Again, we need to channel it into positive action and stuff, which again, I didn't always do that personally. But yeah, it's not always hard for people. I agree with Angelica there.
Actually, baby. And it is scientifically proven that you can't shame someone into a healthier body. Also, by the way, I heard of you from a reaction anti-fat acceptance channel. Pretty sure it was Honey Bison or Angelica Unfiltered. They did a live together. They said really nice things about you. See, we can be nice. We are supportive when we can be. It's just a lot of the people in the fat acceptance community say some stupid shit. I don't know what this person is referring to, though. I've reacted to so much fucking content. Maybe it was, like, the first live that Honey Bison and I did together. Okay, this is the one that really pissed me off. So glad you brought this up. These channels really grind my gears, and it's almost always attacking women. Well, the funny thing is that almost everyone in the fat acceptance community are women. So who the fuck else are you going to talk about? There's, like, probably 5 gay men in the fat acceptance community, and they're not the ones going viral. Are we not supposed to critique people in the fat acceptance community because they're women? I'm not going to coddle women, especially when it's the same women that are pulling other women down.
Well, I think what's also important to understand too is women face so much toxic ritualistic reinforcement. I do think men do too. I think it's just a generalized issue, especially today. Again, this trend is shifting with Gen Z men, but I think it tends to be more reductive with them, where there's a lot of reinforcement and competitiveness towards that type of thing, where it's like, if you don't have abs, you're fat, which is not true. Like that kind of stuff. But so that's still toxic ritualistic reinforcement directed towards especially Gen Z men. I do see that, but in prior generations, and probably even still Gen Z women, there's a lot of reinforcement. And certainly, prior generations, tons and tons of decades of constant toxic ritualistic reinforcement upon women all the time. It's like an endless chorus on all women, even if they don't have it, because it's almost like it's assumed that because you're a woman, you do have it, which is crazy. It's so bad that they literally try to, they do try to conflate fatness with race a lot too, but they do it even more with womanhood. And it's like fatness is not a gendered issue. It isn't. If somebody is telling you it is, that is toxic ritualistic reinforcement. That is a myth. That is not real. Okay?
And making their lives fucking miserable. Everyone in the fat acceptance community has a crabs in a bucket mentality. Once someone is about to get out of the community, they have their claw on the top of the bucket rim and about to pull themselves out. All the other fat fucks in the fat acceptance community pull down their legs and make sure that they're still stuck down there with them. People need...
And that's true activistically. So if you're talking just pure fat activism, that's true. They're all extremely competitive with each other. And the friendships, the alliances within fat acceptance are so fragile that they will just cash you out like nothing. It's not real. The friendships are not real in fat acceptance at all. In my opinion, just like as far as activism is concerned, they are not, a lot of them I don't even think like each other. I think they get super jealous of each other. They're just toxic. It's kind of a toxic community in general. But if we look at the toxic ritualistic reinforcement aspect as well, where a lot of them have those issues and they are also controlling and they want to control what other people say and how other people think. And if that doesn't happen, then they hate them. It's like a boom. Well, I hate you now. You're not reinforcing my DIS order anymore. So now you're evil. Now I hate you. Now you're mean. Now you're this. Now you're that. And you, Jasmine, when you reach a certain point in your weight loss, I guarantee you will get those same comments literally no matter how you act. It doesn't matter because it's about how you look. And when it comes to the toxic ritualistic world, it is about appearance more than anything. So if you look different, you will upset people and they will say that you are mean. Even if you're just the nicest person in the world, you could be completely perfect and they will still say that you are mean or bitter or angry or this or that or the other. And that also does make a lot of people feel like, well, what does it even matter? So it's easy to have a higher, like a holier than thou attitude when you're not getting that much pushback or when people aren't saying things about you, even if it's not true at all. It's easy to be calm if you're not being challenged. And I'm not saying you're not being challenged. I think she has been challenged now, but she's not necessarily being called mean and hateful and these kind of things. And that will come out. It will. It just always does because people just say that. They just do. It's not even necessarily true, which is what Angelica's seeing too. And I see that too. It doesn't matter. Again, we were always the same pretty much. I think Angelica, she started a little bit softer when she very, very first started. And then she was just like, no, I'm full on anti-fat acceptance. So it went from this is for me to I don't think anybody should accept it. But other than that, I think her message and her style has pretty much stayed the same. The only thing that has changed is that she's lost weight. She still would say things that people didn't agree with. She still was bold. Even when she was a fat activist, she put herself out there. She would do all that stuff and she got a lot of hate too. So her style, it hasn't changed all that much in the sense of the boldness. Maybe she's a little bit harsher about certain aspects than she was before. But regardless, her personality is still there. And people just see it differently because she's had success in downsizing. So that's the thing too. So it depends. And by the same token, if we include Honey Bison in the discussion, a lot of people consider Honey Bison meaner than Angelica, but it's just because she looks different. Because Honey Bison is not, if anything, I don't think so. Like I said, she's very balanced in the way that she approaches it. She really leans into her Libra, which she did confirm she's a Libra, but she has Scorpio in her. Just Scorpio, I told you. Toxic ritualistic risk factor. I'm like, clocked you there. But anyways, no, I'm just saying, like, she has a more level tone and stuff, but she's seen as meaner, even though objectively she's not. I don't think she is meaner than Angelica. I think Angelica is meaner. But again, as Angelica gets more successful, then she'll be seen as meaner. And the same thing will happen to you. And the same thing happened to me. The same thing happens to everybody. And you're not going to be the exception. I know that that's harsh to say, but I'm just going to say it. You won't be. Because it's not about you. It's about the person that has a problem. And they project their issues onto you. That's what happens. Well, you've lost enough weight now, Jasmine. Now you're the oppressor. Now you're being a misogynist, Jasmine, because of what you're saying about the toxic ritualistic. Don't you know that the toxic ritualistic is womanhood? You can't attack that. If you attack that, then you're attacking women. You can't say anything about it. You see? And are you going to be able to say, no, if that happens to you? Probably, but will you always say no with a completely level tone and completely calm all the time? I don't know. We have yet to see that, you know?
The fat acceptance community don't want to see other women heal and lose weight. They don't. And they don't want to see them leave the fat acceptance community either. They don't want to see other women escape the cult-like group think mindset. How would I know? Because that happened to me.
Yeah, I can't really speak on that because, again, I'm not a fat activist. I'm not part of that community. Never have been. So, yeah, I can't really relate to that. But I guess if that was your experience, then yeah, I could see how that is problematic.
That happened to me. Yes, it did. I was deemed as dead. D-E-A-D, dead.
I do remember seeing a video where she talked about this whole situation, and
It's iconic, Angelica. It's absolutely iconic.
Have to say that was kind of crazy.
Because I no longer wanted to be in the fat acceptance community, and I had critiqued what the movement stood for. I know we just think of that one iconic video that S did of me.
From now on, I am just going to treat every fat creator who has freshly turned into a weight loss influencer as if they've died.
That went viral. But there were other people in that community that made videos about me too. I just didn't fucking react to them. But I do have one saved in my archive from a content creator named Chelsea. I'm sitting on that still.
You need to send me them, Angelica, because I want to react to them. I'll react to everything. I absolutely will, Angelica. I didn't know other people did. Send it over here. With my hyper-obsessive, crazy Virgo Scorpio within, I'll talk about all of it. I'll talk about a lot of them anyway. I'll talk about it. Send it to me.
Year and a half later. So are we not allowed to critique women? Like, I hate that. I'm sorry. I am so...
Like, there's a difference between critiquing someone and their actions and just verbally abusing someone about their physical appearance.
Harsh on myself.
I do agree. I agree with Jasmine there. But I also think that again, some people are more visual and they think of things that way. Again, I don't do that on this channel. Not that I'm not a visual person at all. It's just I don't attack this issue in that way because it's a little too close to triggering. It can be triggering. So I just, yeah. That being said, people within the TR or people that are leaving it, you have to be in real life. And people that say harsh things about appearances, they exist in the world and you're going to have to deal with it. So while I won't personally do it here, I will say you do have to learn to deal with it because it's out in the world and you're not going to stop everybody from doing it. Again, that doesn't mean you have to watch somebody who does it. That's not true. You don't. But you do have to figure out how to cope with that, because it is a part of life. It's going to still happen. And you can't base your recovery on how other people think and speak. That's not going to work. That is not a solid foundation.
I am my biggest critic, and I will put that same energy onto women because I want to see women succeed.
One thing I do want to say, Angelica, is that I really hope that you aren't this harsh on yourself, because you cannot bully yourself into weight loss and you can't hate yourself into weight loss. And if there's one thing I've learned on my weight loss journey, it is that, you know, hating yourself is not the way to sustainably live a healthier, more active lifestyle. Like, do all the things because you love yourself and you love your body, not because you hate it. And so,
Completely agree with you there, Jasmine. 100% agree.
so yeah, I really hope you're not bullying yourself into weight loss.
I don't want to see women play victim and be fat, lazy fucks and sit on.
I personally think Angelica views it more humorously. If she calls herself a fat fuck or something, it's more lighthearted. I don't think it's that heavy when she talks about, if she does say that to herself, I think it's more of a joke. It's that kind of attitude, which can work too, because that can also disarm a sensitive topic or a sensitive issue as well. Making a joke about it can make it sting less. So it is a way for some people to get there. I always tell you guys, within recovery, do not make anything sacred within the TR. It's not sacred. You know, you build these altars in your mind. You need to throw stuff all over it and disrespect those altars in your mind. And by that I mean literally like altars where people would worship. I mean, I told you guys, it's very similar to like a toxic religion or a cult. That's the quality of the toxic ritualistic. So do not keep anything sacred. Don't. You know, you need to throw stuff at that stuff in your mind and be like, no, screw that. I'm going to make a fat joke today or something. I don't know. Or I'm going to make a fat joke about myself today, because screw that. You know, because I feel like it today. It doesn't mean do it all the time necessarily or whatever. Like, you don't have to, like, again, make a ritual out of it. But I'm just saying, like, I want to see this one day, or I want to watch this content creator and they're a little bit edgy on this, and I might not agree with everything, but I'm just going to watch them anyway, because I'm not going to keep that sacred in my mind. That's fine. But if you just don't like somebody, that's also fine. If you're like, I don't like Angelica and I don't want to hear her, honey, that's fine. Like, sometimes things are just personal, and that's okay. Like, sometimes it's just personal preference. That's also okay. Like, you're not forced to watch anybody, you know? So keep that in mind too. Like, none of us as activists should feel entitled to anybody's viewership. That is very weird and inappropriate. So I don't think Angelica feels that way at all. I don't feel that way. I understand, like Angelica, that I'm not everybody's cup of tea either. And that's where you do have to have some humility as an activist. You do. Again, just because we say something doesn't mean that other people are going to be convinced. That's humility. We are not entitled to anybody's viewership. That's humility. You know, those are things that we have to come at this process with as activists.
On the internet and cry about how hard their lives are, when other women in the past have literally fought for our human rights. We have these same rights as men. We need to take accountability for these circumstances that we have got ourselves in, so that we can live a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life. If someone is being a dumb bitch, I'm going to tell them that they are being a dumb bitch. And I don't care if you think I have internalized patriarchy or sexism or misogyny because I call someone a dumb bitch. If you're being a dumb bitch on the internet and you're a fat activist, I'm going to fucking say something about it. What you're saying affects other women. Like, but with the PCOS shit, like when people come online and they talk about how they can't lose weight because they have PCOS, or they can't lose weight because they have insulin resistance. When some people say that, other people hear it and they internalize it. So they think, okay, well, this plus size woman can't lose weight because she has insulin resistance and PCOS, so that means I can't either. Then the second woman is going to say that, and then that's going to trickle down and spread to all these other people that have
Sure.
PCOS and insulin resistance. So then they don't even attempt to lose weight because they heard someone
True.
else share their lived experience. And I know it is possible to lose weight when you have PCOS and insulin resistance because I follow content
Sure.
creators that have lost a ton of weight. But
And I agree with that. I myself have PCOS and I've lost close to 150 pounds. And yeah, so 100% you can lose weight with PCOS. I feel like this is a little bit of an off-topic tangent, though, that we went on here.
But then also in my comment section and in so many different comment sections on different videos in the anti-fat acceptance communities on YouTube, people have talked about how they lost fucking 50, 75, 100, 150, 200, 300 fucking pounds and they had PCOS and insulin resistance. What we say online matters.
Yes, it does.
And when it
yes.
is women spreading
100%. Yes, that is like the whole point of my video.
It does.
misinformation online, a lot of people in the anti-fat acceptance community are women as well. We will express our opinion and also debunk the stupid shit that they say. It just seems like the body positive community is just trying to make it through their day and not hate themselves, in my opinion. I understand, like, not everyone was deep into the body positivity fat acceptance community that I am. It's more than just surface level squishing your fat rolls and taking pictures of your stretch marks and writing, like, little empowering statements on your Instagram caption. It goes deeper than that. It's not just saying, love yourself, girlfriend. You're so beautiful. Love your imperfections. Your body got you to where you are now. Your body's strong. Your body is resilient. It's not just their stupid text posts and basic infographics that they steal from Canva. It's teaching women how to be compliant and not want more from themselves. I get it. We can have bad body image days and we don't feel the cutest, or maybe we're feeling a little bloated and insecure, or maybe we gained back 5 pounds on Thanksgiving weekend. But body positivity has been stolen by fat acceptance, and those two communities have sold the idea that it is fine to be the way that you are. I mean, like, I guess, yeah, if you want to be like this forever, like, do you? I don't give a fuck. I don't live your life. But those communities don't support.
But it feels like you do give a fuck whenever you go online and make these like long drawn out.
Well, sure. I mean, I think if when you are an activist, you do care. I think what she's trying to say there, which again, this is my impression, Angelica, is that it's not going to change what she does if you don't. And I feel the same way. Do I give a fuck if you accept fatness? Yes, I do. That's why I make these videos, because I don't want you to. But if you don't listen, will I stop? No. So that's how I view it anyway. I don't know if that's how Angelica's viewing it, but it's not going to change what she does in her personal life or with her channel. And I feel the same way about that.
Videos bashing people who are just living their lives. I don't know. Then again, I truly don't give a fuck about what fat people do with their lives. Thus, I don't make reaction content to that kind of.
And if you're not an activist, okay, but that doesn't make you a better person because you're not an activist. It doesn't make you superior or in any kind of way to not care about something. And it also doesn't make you empathetic either to not care. So again, I'm just saying, don't set those standards when you talk, Jasmine, because people will point the finger back at you. Because then I can say, well, I don't think you're very empathetic, Jasmine, because you don't care about other people's lives. You don't care about other people's quality of life. You don't care if they're being lied to. You don't care if they want to downsize and they feel like they can't. You know, I've always spoken about that on this channel. I want to show somebody or talk to the person who wants it more than anything. I don't typically try to convince people. What I typically try to do, I'm not really like an entry point, you know? I'm not a Sam at every size, for example. I think she's a great entry point. I'm not really there. I'm the person where you've decided to leave it behind and we're going to get some work done here. And we're going to really talk about it. That's who I am. And I'm an activist as well. So, yeah. That's what I do. So I'm not really introductory. I'm like, we're going deep. We're getting to the issue. We're focused. And we're going to make some changes. And it's not always going to be comfortable. That's how I am on this channel. which again, love the people that are convincers, love you guys so much. But I know my role and I'm going to stick to my role. So I do absolutely care. I do. I care specifically about the person who's trying to get out. I care about the person who's trying to understand. I care about the person who also wants to help others too, because I want to give people tools of understanding and being able to better empathize with people with these issues from an emotional perspective. That's what I care about, which is why I talk about what I do. It's always been for the people who want to downsize, who feel that they can't, the people who want to help others, who don't understand. That's basically what it's been for. So I do care. I do. However, like I said, I'm not a particularly controlling person. So if somebody's like, I'm going to do this, period, I will say something about it. I will judge it. Absolutely. If I feel I need to, especially if they are an activist, if they are spreading what they are doing, which that's how most people feel in this sphere. I don't typically make videos about people who are just fat in general. Sometimes I do. Like I have talked about Amberlynn Reid a couple times. I didn't do it a lot, but I have done it before. And, but if I did it, I probably wouldn't talk about their appearance or things like that, as I stated, for other reasons, which again, I do agree with you, Jasmine, on that aspect. So, yeah. Just trying to explain.
And stuff. Yeah, I feel like this video, she did go on a little bit of a tangent about like fat activism and stuff, and I get it, because that's what her whole channel is about, but that wasn't really the point of like what I was saying. So let me see if I can find any more relevant clips.
It is not okay to be mentally ill. It is not okay to struggle. It is not okay to be super morbidly obese. It is not okay to eat yourself to a place of being fucking disabled and immobile because you are addicted to food. It is not good to struggle with daily activities like wiping your ass, getting out of bed, walking up a flight of stairs. Like, I get it if you have like chronic illness and disabilities when...
I just want to say though, yeah, mental health can be a chronic illness, and as someone who has struggled with my mental health for like the majority of my life with depression and anxiety and stuff like that, you know, obviously there are far more severe mental illnesses that truly do have to be managed with chronic medications and things. To say that it's not okay to be mentally ill and it's not okay to be fat and obese, like, again, it's like, I don't know, I guess I just have a very different view of the world and life in general and like the human experience.
Sure. I think so. I think I agree with Angelica, which I think she mentions me later in this point, because when you say something is okay, you're saying something is acceptable. It's not acceptable to not treat a mental illness. It's not acceptable to not deal with it or improve it. It's not acceptable to not manage something, especially if it's severe or it does require medication or something like that. If it's anxiety, depression, depending on the level, you still need to do something. You need to lose weight. If you're huge, it's going to make you anxious and depressed. You need to exercise. You need to take care of yourself. There's certain steps you need to take. You need to get out in the sun a little bit every once in a while. You might need to get a life. You might need to build stronger relationships and stuff like that. Work on certain things that are making you unhappy. Which there's a whole lot of stuff that can make you unhappy. But again, if you're like totally bipolar or you have something going on like that where you need medication, it's not okay to just not do anything about that. It's not acceptable to not do anything about it. So again, maybe you're viewing it more so like you're not a bad person because you have that. But sometimes people are bad people. And they do have conditions too. So it's just, to me, it's not that black and white, where it's like you can be a bad person with a mental health condition. You can be a good person with a mental health condition. You know, so I wouldn't necessarily jump in defense of that. That's my opinion though.
and maybe it just comes from things I've witnessed and experienced in my life, but personally, I feel that other human beings are allowed to kind of live their own life experiences to whatever they see fit. And if someone's dealing with a chronic illness or a mental illness or obesity or whatever, and they're not wanting to do anything to really work on that or change that, that is solely their prerogative, and it does not affect me in any actual way if it doesn't affect me, you know? And
Sure, but then it kind of, is that really true? Because you made a whole video about how other people are talking about this issue. So is it because it affects you? Because you can have a very blasé, I don't care about anything attitude. That's fine, but you don't get to pick and choose. So it's like, okay, if you care about how people are talking about fat people, that's fine. But other people can also care about other things too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if that's Angelica's prerogative to have her channel the way she's having it, then why are you making this reaction? If it's Alan Roberts' prerogative, how he deals with whatever issues he has, then why are you talking about how he talks about things? It doesn't make sense. It's not a good argument. It just isn't. I want you to know that. It's not.
Again, I just feel like some people kind of have a really warped view on like reality. Like, humans are humans. Not everyone is gonna be the pinnacle of health. And
I agree with that. I think people do. People have cognitive dissonance all the time. I think you have some, Jasmine, that I'm just trying to point out, not because I hate you or I think you're a horrible person. I don't. I think from what I've seen, I think that you're somebody who deserves a full recovery and a complete turnaround, you know, and you seem motivated to do that. And I'm super supportive and happy for you. And so I'm trying to point out certain things where you're a little bit inconsistent in how you view this. So you need to think about what you actually believe. And again, you're going to come to your own conclusions. It's not my job to tell you what to believe, but it is my job to point out where I feel like there are a little bit of toxic ritualistic mindsets you may have, even if you were never fully within criteria to be diagnosed, or if it's subclinical or it's just a shade of it or whatever. There's some stuff there where it's inconsistent. And I'm pointing it out, not just for you personally, but also for anybody else who may agree with you or who may have had similar thoughts that you've had that do also need to be pointed out. So it's not just about you personally, it's about the listener too. That's why I'm doing this. If Jasmine were to never watch this video, it doesn't matter, because other people did. And I'm not just talking to her. I'm talking to the collective as an activist.
And that is not our job to critique and criticize and try to make people hate themselves to fit the mold that we've created.
You can't.
Well, it is Angelica's job to try to change minds. She is an activist. So it absolutely is her job. It's my job as well. That is the job. Which again, it's not for everybody. It's not an easy path. You do have to have a little bit of bitchitude to do this job. You have to be willing to disagree with people. A lot of people are not willing to do that. That's completely fine. Even the softest anti-fat acceptance person, they still have to be able to disagree. Even if they can disagree in the softest, kindest way, they still have to. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your approach. It just doesn't matter. That makes sense to me, you know. But the point is, it is our job, actually. It is.
Do a lot of those things, but it's different when you have eaten yourself to that point and you can do something about it. If you have a certain disorder and disease and you genuinely, actually cannot change your circumstances, I get it. I'm not shaming people from that. I'm not fucking ableist. But when you are Amberlynn Reed and mentally abuse your significant others, also financially, and you can't wipe your own ass, so you gotta put a wet washcloth on your fucking counter sink and twerk, that should be a wake-up call. That's not something that should be in your daily routine.
Again, I am not on here to defend the Amberlynn Reeds of the internet, and
understand
I don't know. I feel like we've gotten into the weeds once again.
If you are so fat you can't even stand up to take a fucking shower, that is not okay. I just hate. Graphically Alex was like talking about this in his video I watched today too, where it's like, as a culture, I don't know if it's more, maybe like more millennial-ish, but it's like, Why have we gotten to the point where we just think like, oh, this is okay, this is normal, this is regular? It should not be. It should not be normal or cute, quirky to have a fucking pigsty in every single one of your rooms in the house. It's not quirky to bed rot and be so fucking depressed that you...
There's a problem. You have a problem if that's going on. And again, I understand Jasmine's point of like, well, that doesn't say something about the character of the person. I agree, but it does say that there is a problem that needs to be solved and it's not acceptable. It doesn't have to be instantly fixed, but it needs to be acknowledged and managed and made as least as possible. Like the messiness critique. It's a little bit messy in this room, as I told you guys, but it's not like piles of trash and bugs and, you know, it's not on that level. And again, Anna O'Brien, her place was to hoarder levels, where it's like she did so much online shopping. There were just so many boxes. It's like you could barely walk in the rooms. It's ridiculous. And it's probably because she's in a haze. She's in the hypo haze. She's deep within the toxic ritualistic. She has health problems that are not just mental, but also physical. And she has mess blindness because she's too hypo to function, more than likely, due to her size and due to her behaviors that she does, which she does binge. That's something that can happen to you. And again, she's a very, very, very severe case. So when we talk about it, I'm going to talk about that too. When you become so unhealthy physically, you start to have your brain be affected, and you don't acknowledge that the house is becoming full of boxes. And that is a mental health issue. That is a problem that should not be accepted. It just shouldn't.
She sleep 18 hours a day. It's not cute and quirky and trendy to be in thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of credit card debt. It's not cute and quirky to eat every meal from fucking McDonald's. That's not okay.
But I also feel like, again, these are all like morals and characteristics that you have kind of set for yourself. And so it really sounds like you're kind of imposing your morals onto other people, and if people aren't living up to the standards you create.
But aren't you, Jasmine? Isn't that this whole video that you made? You don't like how other people are talking, so now you are imposing your morals onto other people. It's not a good argument if you're doing it too. I'm just trying to point out the inconsistency. You're not seeing it clearly, Jasmine. You're not. You're not consistent.
For yourself, then you view them as less than, and therefore as like morally invalid. And yeah, I don't really...
No, you view it as the person needs help, or they need to help themselves. They need to get out of that. They need to do something about it. It's not acceptable. Fat acceptance is accepting a problem. It's advocating to accept an issue. And that does bleed into other areas of life, like having hoarder levels of boxes and clothes all over. It's not acceptable.
I don't agree with that.
It's okay. Like, it's not okay. It's not okay.
Like,
if you want to have a shitty life, go ahead, do that. I don't give
Says Angelica. Says Angelica. That says who? Says me. It's our voice. It's our channel. We're going to say what we want to say.
But if you're going to
seems
post
like you
about your shitty life, your shitty habits online, don't be surprised when
She's going to critique it. If you want to do it privately, that's Angelica. She said, if you want to do it privately, then I'm not going to say anything about it. I wouldn't know necessarily. You know, I wouldn't know. But when you post, like what Angelica says, when you post things online, you're advocating for it. There is a sense of advocacy. Like there's a little bit of advocacy. Gosh, where that word came from.
someone says something about it. Because when you post things online, that affects other people. And when people in the body positivity and fat acceptance communities glamorize their lives when they're fat as fuck and they act like it's so healthy to be 400 pounds as a 5'5" woman. It's so
People believe their lies.
sexy. It's so luxurious. It's so amazing.
And also having a hugely messy house that's not functional, it can be related to being that big. which it is what it is. I'm sorry, that's reality, Jasmine. It is what it is. So it's going to be used as an example of why you shouldn't accept it.
There's nothing wrong with this, even though I have fucking osteoarthritis at 25.
Right.
And my mom has to come to my room every 30 minutes on the fucking dot to give me a fresh pack of hot Cheetos or family-sized container of Oreos. Like, that's not okay. I get it if you're not okay. I have not been okay, too. I just talked about how I didn't want to be alive 3 years ago.
It's not
But
about
fucking do
character
something
of the
about it.
person. It's about, it's not acceptable. It wasn't acceptable for Angelica to feel that way, and she needed to do something about it. It was not acceptable for me to be in the toxic ritualistic, especially severely, for over a decade. It wasn't acceptable. It wasn't acceptable for me to be almost dying at 28 years old. It's not acceptable. These are not acceptable things at all. And if Jasmine's approach is, well, it doesn't affect me if you die at 28, so blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not very empathetic, Jasmine. It's not. So again, don't try to be the moral arbiter of, I'm so empathetic. You're not. If that's true, if you don't care at all about other people, then you're not empathetic. Sorry.
Okay? If people in the anti-fat acceptance space over here on YouTube are just literal examples that you can do something about your circumstances. If you're not okay, then do something about it. Stop being compliant. Stop being a fucking lazy loser bitch. You deserve more.
I think what she's attempting to do here is, again, just trying to motivate people in her own, like, dark sense of humor way, which, you know, to each their own. I know this is for some people, I get it, but yeah, it's
You deserve to live a happy, healthy life. And I genuinely mean that. And when I
It's for a lot of people that watch her. So it is what it is. And if you don't want to watch her, you don't have to.
say that, I just don't mean, oh, cute, post a picture in your freaking bikini and your stretch marks. You're so brave, girl. You're so slay, girl boss. I love you, fat queen. No, I mean that you deserve to do the fucking hard things so you can prosper. I want to see you meal prep and exercise and find healthy habits and lose weight and drink water and feel the sun beat on your fucking skin. Go enjoy nature. I want you to do that. I want you to actually enjoy life. I don't want you to be in the fat acceptance community where you try to convince yourself that you're okay the way that you are and you don't need to change. You deserve to change.
And she's explaining why she cares here. That's why she's talking to you. And that's how she's answering you, Jasmine. Is she's saying, this is why I do what I do.
deserve something
if you want
better.
to, yeah.
Stop being so fucking compliant in your life. You are not a victim. There are certain things in our lives that we cannot control, but there are a hell of a lot more things that we can. All right, sorry to go AA on y'all again. The Serenity Prayer. You know, replace God with your higher being or some sort of superhero if you want. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Acknowledge what you can change, accept that. Work on the things that you cannot.
I will say though that, you know, that is an interesting correlation, you know, AA and then she's basically talking to people who are trying to get out of fat acceptance, I guess. So interesting correlation.
Change and know the difference. There's this guy I fucking saw.
I wish she would have expanded on that because I don't know what she means by it's an interesting correlation. So I don't know what she meant there.
On Instagram, he was on a weight loss journey and working out, and he had no fucking legs.
That's
And he was
awesome.
walking on
That
the
sure
treadmill.
looks really
He
good.
cannot change the fact that he has no legs, and he's probably accepted that on his journey. But he was determined enough to change his lifestyle habits so that he could lose weight. And I'm sure that he knows the difference between the things that he cannot change and that he can change. What can you change in your life, viewer? Probably a hell of a lot more than you think. You just need to take accountability for your actions. Also,
This
the
is
fat
very
acceptance
motivational. I just want to say
community
you
compared
are a great motivational speaker.
to the roiled tomato
She's very positive, actually. Not very hateful. Not in my opinion. But I do understand where she's blunt or where she does say things that bother people. I get it. Like I said, she's not for everybody. Totally understand it. I'm not trying to convince you that she's for you. That's not my job. And yeah. So, but I do appreciate that kind of stuff myself, where she gets, like, when she's talking about that kind of stuff, that's helpful to me because I'm so, like, in the clouds and, like, I don't know where the hell I am, you know? But when she says stuff like that, it's kind of more grounding for someone like me. So it's helpful for me. And I'm not super, super sensitive. So it doesn't bother me that much. So that can help remind me to be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's take accountability. Let's do this stuff. Like, I've struggled with that at times. I think it's it's my millennial curse. The millennial curses of avoiding accountability and giving up control. Those are two things that millennials hate in general. And I'm a super stereotype in that sense. And so when she's saying, like, accountability, I'm like, okay, you know, I don't flinch anymore. I don't feel like I'm being slapped in the face anymore. I'm like, yes, you know, the disorder did not take those years from me. I gave those years to that. That's accountability. So it's like, even Angelica, how she talked, it helped me reframe that to be more correct. So even I can learn, being so far into my recovery, honestly recovered, period, at this point, as I've normalized my weight. But even I can learn this far into the game from Angelica. So, yeah.
Sphere gym bros with bad takes is tiny in number comparably. I feel like that there is probably way more delusional fat acceptance community members than toxic gym bros. You know why? Because 77% of American adults are overweight. 44% of American adults are obese. There is probably such a small sliver of toxic gym bros compared to people in the fat acceptance community. Like, how many people are in prime shape, taking roids, eating boiled chicken and broccoli for every meal? And then how many people are in the fat acceptance community, or actually just obese? You don't have to be in the fat acceptance community. Because the thing is, even
it's important to keep the perspective in mind too. And that's true. That is the picture in the United States.
if you aren't in the fat acceptance community, if you are fat or obese, you probably still...
Although I will say, I do think that some of the toxic gym culture can be gatekeeping, and it can reinforce people to stay fat as well. So I do have issues with both sides of that. But that's just my take on that.
share a lot of the same mindsets as fat activists.
Oh.
Yes, you can.
See, that's the part I don't agree with, because I am fat. I'm still classified as obese according to my BMI, and I do not feel like I have the same views as the fat activist community.
You have a little bit, though. You do. And what was it? I can control how other people talk about other people's bodies. That is a fat activist belief that you have. Why do I say that? Because you said something about it. It's not even just what they say, it's their thought. You want to change how they think about it. You have a desire for that. That is a fat acceptance thing that you do have. So again, I understand you're probably not going to go off the deep end over this if Angelica doesn't listen to you, blah, blah, blah. But it's still there. You also have other fat acceptance beliefs, like if it doesn't bother me, then I don't have anything to say about it, or I don't care. So therefore, it's acceptable for another person to be 400 or 500 pounds. So that is a fat acceptance belief that you have, because it's acceptable to you if somebody else has the problem, even though it wasn't acceptable for you. Which again, nobody's telling you to control somebody else. I don't think you can, and I think that would be really weird. But I do think saying something is kind of a bare minimum, especially if you understand how awful it is to be that big. I don't see how an empathetic person couldn't at least try to say something in general. I couldn't handle that. You know, I try not to, I don't typically force things like that on people in my life, but I still talk about things. I try to keep perspective, but I'm going to keep talking about things because I want people to at least do a little bit better because I'm around. That makes me feel better. And so I'm going to do that. I don't have crazy standards. I'm not, like I said, I'm not controlling over it because it's not, that's also toxic ritualistic. So I'm not going to be like totally unhinged when it comes to this, but I will try to at least enforce a better perspective because that's what I can do and that's what I can control. I can control my voice. I can control what I say, and I'm going to. And I do that activistically as well because similarly to Angelica, I also have a little bit of survivor's guilt. I do too. Because a lot of people don't get out of the issue I had. And a lot of people do die from it. And a lot of people never get out of supermorbid obesity. A lot of people get there and they die there. So I take that seriously too. And I do care. So, and I'm not ashamed to say I care. I do. I absolutely do.
Believe that you can't do anything about your weight and your genetics determine your weight and you barely eat anything and you're just fat because you do photosynthesis, like you absorb fat from the air.
So yeah, I don't believe any of those things. In fact, I have talked extensively about how I have been recently struggling with my weight going up and down since coming off of GLP-1, and I know that it is 100% because I have been struggling with my overeating. I'm not going to use the other word, but yeah, I definitely understand how weight gain and weight loss work, and I don't believe any of those things. But again, I'm still fat, so I don't think that statement that if you are fat, you probably have the same views as people in the fat acceptance community, like automatically. Like,
it's not necessarily that you have all the views every day of your life forever, but a lot of people in general, they do. And a lot of people, especially within this toxic ritualistic issue, they share similar beliefs, even if they are not an activist. And they will reinforce it on the people in their lives, even if they're not an activist, because it's a way to keep your coping mechanism alive, which I don't think that you're doing that, Jasmine. Again, I think that you're like half out. So I think you're waking up, but there's still pieces of it there, even if they're a lot less than they used to be. And again, there is a delicate line, right? There's a difference between being controlling about other people and still viewing it as unacceptable to be fat, especially as you yourself are losing weight. So you do believe it's unacceptable because you're losing weight. So again, there's inconsistencies there that I think you do need to look into.
like, no.
And that's how you become super morbidly obese, even though you barely eat anything. But at the same time, you go to McDonald's for every fucking meal and consume 6,000 calories while walking maybe 2,000 steps a day because you also work a office job where you sit on your big fat ass all day and don't move. And even though you only work 8 hours a day, you complain that you have absolutely no time to meal prep and exercise. So that's why you have a DoorDash subscription. And all you drink is fucking Mountain Dew because you don't like the taste of water. See, even if you are not in fat acceptance community, you share the same mentals as people in the fat acceptance community. Like, graphically, Alex was never in the fat acceptance community, but he talks about how he had bed, and a lot of his same mindsets were the same as people that are or were in the fat acceptance.
Yes, like comparison is a big one. So thin people have it so much easier than me. Thin people are liked better. If I could ever downsize, I would be liked more. These are all fat acceptance beliefs that, even though I was never in it, they're DIS ordered mindsets. The hierarchy, the body hierarchy, I was a huge subscriber of it, you know, especially pre-2014. So it's like you view people who are fit as otherworldly almost. That is fat acceptancy, you know, like the way that they viewed Taylor Swift, for example. They were just like, oh my gosh, how could she ever say this, blah, 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 you know, because she's so amazing, she's thin, but then we hate her because she's thin, you see? So I had dynamics like that too. Weird mindsets around stuff like that. A lot of comparison issues. Comparison is a huge part of Hinge. Honey Bison commented that Hinge is not as competitive or outwardly or not as competitive as the other ones. I agree, but I also disagree, because while it's not as overtly, outwardly competitive, the way that people in Hinge compete is they say, I have it worse than you. I'm doing worse than you. Or you think that that's how your struggles are. Well, look at mine. They're so much worse. That's still competitive. It's just indirect. And then there's tons of comparison. At least I'm not as big as that person. Or, oh my God, I'm the biggest person here. So those aspects of Hinge, they're still kind of competitive-ish, but it's not as directly competitive as the other ones. And so I both agree and disagree with Honey Bison with that. But again, it's a very nuanced take, and I do agree with what she said. Basically, yes, it's not as outwardly competitive, but it is indirectly competitive, and tons of comparison and tons of jealousy is involved within Hinge, which it's kind of like tangentially competitive, if that makes sense. It's pseudo-competitive or something. It's similar, you know?
Well, again, I feel like every individual is an individual. So, yeah, it could be true for some, not for all.
That people say in the fat acceptance community is...
Yeah, I'd say it's true for the vast majority. Vast majority. Even people in society, these beliefs are pushed so often that even people who don't have any issue with it whatsoever, they still will parrot the same talking points, like obesity is genetic. How many people have you heard say that? A lot.
Is not just staying there.
Yeah,
spreading
and
out.
things people say in this like community of anti-fat activists, reaction people, the things they're saying spread as well. My main concern are the hateful, cruel, misogynistic, and just downright ugly things that are being said by certain creators that are being reiterated by other creators.
But also,
You need to show examples. It would help your argument a lot more. You can do reactions if you want, because people need to know exactly what you're talking about.
so just being said.
Because depending on what's being said, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you right off the bat. I just don't know what that means to you. And I need to see what you're talking about. So that's another critique. It'd be good to show reactions to it if you want to.
In general society. And the funny thing is, I'm subscribed to Jasmine Flowers, and I've commented on some of her videos in the past. And I mean, I don't think she owes me anything, because I've left her supportive comments on her videos. I mean, I don't even
And I
know if she's
appreciate it.
watched any of mine.
I have.
Most people in the anti-fat acceptance community are supportive of anyone that's on a weight loss journey, or if they have left the fat acceptance community. I was welcomed with open arms. Several people made videos about what happened to me on TikTok, and that was months before I even decided to start making YouTube videos about my experience. Yes, people in this community could be harsh and more forward and blunt and sometimes mean. Wink. But the people in this community are some of the most loving, caring, compassionate, intelligent, and educated people that I have ever seen. I try to reply to as many comments as I can, and I want to be supportive of you guys that leave comments talking about how that you've lost weight and you're celebrating non-scale victories and stuff like that. If I don't get to those comments, there are people in the comment section that reply to them and say congratulations. People in the anti-fat acceptance community are supportive and kind, and they want to see other people succeed. And when you talk about this topic, weight and fat acceptance and body positivity, it is something that is very taboo, and it is something that a lot of people are very sensitive about. So I understand this content is not for everyone, but I will speak for everyone that posts this type of content online. I know everyone genuinely wants to see everyone succeed and lose weight and get out of the fat acceptance community. Yeah, there are some certain people that we are more critical of, that we could be a little bit more brash towards, but it's because they're either repeat offenders. That's so fucking dramatic. But it's or they are constantly spewing misinformation or have a large amount of followers.
And yeah, I get that, and I'm not even in disagreement with that. Totally, I think it's great to kind of go and debunk some of these, especially the larger content creators that do have a wider audience and a wider reach, that are spreading some kind of harmful narratives. Totally, and I support that, but I feel like there is a right and a wrong way to go about it. That's just me personally, though. I am not here to act like I am above anyone. I don't think I'm better than anyone just because I feel this way. But yeah, it's how I feel. I feel like you don't have to be cruel to get a point across. And yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it here because this is already gonna be a super long video. I do want to
no
say
problem.
thank you to
Yeah, so I just want to say too, totally supportive of your journey, especially human to human. You know, I may have some disagreements, or there may be certain ideas that you do have that I'm like, you might want to just look at that, because there is some inconsistencies there, or you seem unsure. And I want you to be more confident in what you're thinking in terms of your journey and all that kind of stuff. Because I want you to succeed. I do. And I'm sure Angelica does too. I'm sure we all do, human to human, even if we disagree over style or whatever. Yeah, I just want you to be confident. And so, yeah. So just my advice that you didn't ask for is get very clear and continue to do the psychological work. I think you're on a great path. Do not fucking hinge. Don't hinge. Don't be overly reductive. Do not stare in the mirror at yourself critically. Don't do any of those things, please, ever. Especially while recovering and while figuring things out. And yeah, I wish you the best. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.